Welcome to this On video in collaboration with Rockford Tech. Today, there is no doubt that Apple delivering millions of iPhones in the first week of launch is completely insane. No other company receives this amount of orders that Apple receives, and there is no company that delivers millions of anything in the time span of 1 week. So this begs the question of how does Apple pull this feat off year after year? In Q4 2017, Apple has shipped 27 million units of the iPhone X. To do this, Apple has a vast and large logistics network to bring the materials needed to make the iPhone in China and then eventually ship the thing out to people to unbox and use. The process starts with the components coming from 43 countries, although it does have suppliers from all around the world for its raw materials, but that information is not tracked except for the conflict minerals. The US government says that the extraction of these minerals have financed armed rebels in the Democratic Republic of Congo. These are elements like tin, tungsten, gold, tantalum, and cobalt. Apple right now requires all smelters in its supply chain to do third-party audits to make sure that the stuff that goes into the phone is sourced from the right people. Other important elements needed to make the iPhone are rare earth metals. These metals are magnetic and have conductive properties. For example, terbium, gallium, europium, and yttrium produce nice colors on the screen for an iPhone's screen. Also, neodymium and praseodymium are used for the magnets in the speaker to help your phone vibrate. It turns out that 80% of the global rare earth supply comes from China, and it is very likely that is where the supply of the rare earths comes from. After all the minerals are extracted, they go to all of Apple's suppliers that make parts for the iPhone. Most people think that when they make a product, for instance the iPhone, the raw material goes into the factory and ready-made iPhones come out. The iPhone is not mainly a China-made product, but more of a global product. As I said in another On video about containerization, products are being manufactured in many different places. Like for example, the wings for the 787 were made in Japan by Mitsubishi, and the cargo access doors were made by Saab in Sweden. In the end, the 787 is imported from many different locations around the globe, and this is not the case for premium products only. Even really cheap products like a hood could have plastic made in China, zippers made in Taiwan, and cotton made in the United States. The point is products have parts made from all over the world because of cheap shipping. To this rule, the iPhone is no exception. Its display is made by Sharp in Japan, the battery is made in China, the camera and rear-facing camera is made by Sony in Japan, and Dialog Semiconductor is designed and made in Germany. Also, for a single product of the iPhone like the A10 chip, has parts made from all over the world. The design team for it is in Israel, but they're manufactured in Taiwan, and some analysts say that it has some RAM that was made in Korea. In the end, all the stuff has to come to final assembly in China, where all parts of the iPhone like the processor, the screen, and the sensors have to be assembled into one iPhone, which the consumer will unbox. Apple is known for trying to make sure that the leaks do not get out about the new iPhone, and here's Rockford Tech to help explain how security works in the Apple supply chain.
Normally, when the components are not made in the supplier's factories, it's harder to get leaks because most of the phone is not manufactured, so the security is reduced, but still present. Still, occasionally leaks still manage to get out about the phone. But when the iPhone is sent to the factory for final assembly, that's where security really gets tight. When the iPhone has not been announced and is being produced before launch, Foxconn normally has the assembly lines closed off with curtains to not allow leaks to get out about the new iPhone. Foxconn also has metal detectors on each floor, so no cameras get into the factory, and employees are not allowed to bring their phones into the factory. But small leaks like the lack of a headphone jack for the iPhone 7 and 2 cameras for the 7 Plus are noticed by factory's workers and told in the press.
Thanks for coming out and helping out. Also, be sure to check out his channel in the description below. Apple normally starts its production of its phones in early June or May, and continues to ramp up its production until they have the right amount. But Apple does not send the iPhones as soon as they're made to everywhere. The iPhones will rest in China until right before launch. When they are shipped, iPhones are shipped to distribution centers around the world, including Australia, China, the Czech Republic, Japan, Singapore, and the UK. The security personnel are with the devices every step of the way, from the truck deports, airports, customs, and storage warehouses, until the product is finally unveiled. To get the iPhones to the US, FedEx uses 777s, each of which can hold around 450,000 iPhones in one go, and they can cost $242,000 to charter, with fuel accounting for half the cost. Apple has used less conventional aircraft to transport its gadgets in the past. Before debut of the new iPods, Apple packed an old Russian transporter plane with media players to get them to stores on time. But you may ask, why does Apple use a plane where it could use a ship and transport so much more cargo at less cost? The thing is that, number one, Apple needs to send iPhones fast to make sure that they're out there so people can buy them. Number two, Apple can, because a phone is small and you can fit lots of iPhones on a plane, and adding the high price of the iPhone, it makes economical sense that the iPhone should be sent by air. If you do the same for a printer, it won't work because printers are very large, so less of them can fit on one plane and offset the cost. And there's simply not the need for a printer company to ship by plane immediately, because there's no demand for immediate shipping. When the iPhone goes on sale, Apple can't relax, because it has to monitor which configurations are selling the most and make sure there's no pile of iPhones at the store, because the design of the Apple Store has little storage for products and a lot more space dedicated for customers. This means that Apple has to make sure that they do not have too much supply, and in the end, it has to come perfectly. Once the hype has died down, Apple still cannot relax because it has to get ready for next year. In this time, employees of the logistic team talk of ways that they could improve on next year to make sure that the system gets better every year. Even for one of the best logistics networks on the planet, there's always room for improvement. Thanks for watching this on video. Please go ahead and subscribe to Rockford Tech, and as always, see you in the next one.